So welcome to this special review episode of the vlog. It was 1 year ago today that we stepped aboard Jubilee for the first time in Barton Terns Marina and started our epic narrowboat adventure. And with the help of some previously unseen footage and a visit for some friends, we're going to show you some of the other things that we got up to in our first year aboard a narrowboat, and also give you a bit of an insight about the things that have worked well for us and maybe the things that we found a little bit more difficult. Now, I have to be honest, I thought this was going to be an easy vlog to put together. Not a lot of jeopardy. You'll see later on I couldn't have been further from the truth. Let's see how we got on. Before I start though, I thought it might be interesting to share with you how we got here. So let's turn back the clock 30 years. Back to when Sue and I spent much of our time in the outdoors, camping and climbing, something that the whole family enjoyed doing. So in my early 30s, I decided it was probably time to think about a change. My career was picking up and I wasn't really having as much time to train for climbing as I'd used to. So we decided to buy our first boat, called Moonbeam, in 2002. She was a beautiful little wooden boat, and believe it or not, as small as she was, Sue and I and our 3 children managed to sail all the way to New Haven in her from the Medway. The thing about having a small boat is that it doesn't take much wind until things become really lively aboard, and so it wasn't too many years before we upgraded it to a larger boat called Helmvig. This greatly expanded our sailing horizons and allowed us to venture overseas and visit places like the lovely islands of Herm and Sark. By 2007 we'd upgraded again, this time to an ocean-going yacht called Shadowfax. And for the next 10 years or so we spent some lovely times exploring rivers and coastlines. On one occasion we even rescued a sailing barge that was becalmed in the shipping lanes off Gravesend. Now, one thing all sailors accept is that sooner or later you're going to hit rough weather. And the thing about having a yacht is you're very, very much driven by what the weather's doing, and when it's rough, boy, it can be really, really rough. And that means holiday plans often have to change. Sometimes it's the destination, sometimes it's whether you go at all. And when it's like this, you do wonder if a more relaxing holiday might be a little bit better. In 2016, fate intervened when Susie got ill and a yachting holiday definitely wasn't on the cards. We were looking for something else to do, and I'd always fancied having a little go at a narrowboat. So we hired this little 47-foot narrowboat from Norbury Wharf and we set off on our very first narrowboat adventure. Being complete narrowboat novices, we decided to tackle the 4 counties ring and also to head down the Llangollen arm to Trefor and back. Now, while to many that might be a bit ambitious, to be honest we didn't know any different, so we just cracked on. And soon we found ourselves cruising through the countryside on what has to be one of the most relaxing holidays we've ever had. When you hire a narrowboat, you don't really get too much instruction, so it really was a voyage of discovery for us, and I think we probably made quite a few mistakes on the journey, but nonetheless we had a great time. In 2018 we hired our second narrowboat, this time from Anglo-Welsh. We collected the boat from Stockton Top Marina, and over the course of 3 days we went the 37 miles to Kingswood Junction and back. This meant negotiating 86 locks. Fortunately this time we had the whole family aboard, so we had plenty of muscle to get those lock gates open. The boat we hired was a little bit on the tired side and it did actually break down on us, but despite that we had a lot of fun. And so later that year we hired our third narrowboat. This time we started our journey from Wootton Rowan. We headed down the Hatton Locks, all the way round Var Braunston, up to Leicester, where we joined the River Soar, eventually joining the Trent and Mersey and going round in a huge great circle back via the Wolverhampton flight and back to where we started. This narrowboat adventure was huge amounts of fun, and we learned a few valuable lessons. Firstly, we did find it a little bit difficult to find somewhere good to stay in Birmingham, and next time I think I'd plan that bit a bit more carefully. To be honest as well, I made a couple of mistakes. The first one was rushing over a lock gate. I actually ended up slipping in, which was a bit of a shock to the system and something to be avoided. Also, when you're operating locks, I learnt to be a bit slower around that, as when a lock key slipped and banged into my hand, you really do feel it. So as we were travelling on our journey, we couldn't help but look into marinas and look at boats for sale. And as the holiday drew to a close, I had this sneaky feeling by the close of the year we'd be looking for our own boat. So by late November, and armed with a checklist, we set off and started looking at boats. The first boat we found that we really liked was a reverse layout, and that was something we hadn't seen before, and it made us realise just how practical that will be for us. Unfortunately, at survey, it proved that the boat wasn't quite what we thought it was, but the whole experience taught us a lot about looking for boats. And so, armed with this new information, we headed off to look at another boat, Jubilee this time. And this time it was the boat for us. After a few nail-biting weeks waiting for the survey to be done, we finally got the all clear and completed the purchase.
Welcome to the vlog, and today is an exciting day because we signed the paperwork and Jubilee is now ours. So we are looking forward to Friday when we can go up and move lots of things aboard and make our little home from home.
And that was how we opened our very first vlog. Meanwhile, back on Jubilee, I have to say the choice of a reverse layout has really worked well for us. Bringing that sociable space back closer to the cockpit has made the boat really usable. And so, on the 17th of March, we headed off on our first narrowboat adventure aboard Jubilee. Now I have to say the weather was quite blustery, and that meant manoeuvring out of the marina was a bit of a handful, particularly on a boat I wasn't familiar with. Now, a brand new narrowboat and high winds in winter, and inevitably you're going to touch the sides every now and then. We were no different in this regard. Through the first couple of days we bumped the odd lock landing and the odd lock entrance. It's just all part of the learning curve. The trick is to go slow so the bumps are gentle. And sometimes that strategy doesn't even work out and you hit the odd one a little bit harder than you might have liked. And so, in improving weather, we covered the 71 miles and 37 locks and brought the boat back to Yelvertoft, pretty much without a hitch. The only thing we did notice was a small problem developing with the inverter. More about that pesky inverter in another vlog. One of the nice things about having a narrowboat is it's quite a good space to bring beginners aboard. And early in the year we brought our neighbours aboard for a weekend. It was a really blustery day, so maybe not an ideal time to learn to handle a narrowboat. But unlike a yacht, it's something you can realistically do with beginners, even if the weather's not perfect. So despite the weather, we had a really good time, and actually by the end of the couple of days they were able to handle the boat really well. Very impressed. Okay, so we're here on the Narrowboat Jubilee and we've got some special guests today. Andy and Kat from Mohawk has joined us. Now, if you remember the vlogs in the summer, we met these folks when we were on the Neen, and I thought it'd be great to invite them back and find out what they thought of their trip. So, guys, this was your first boating adventure, and you decided to tackle such a long journey. What sort of preparation, if any, did you get to do before you went on this journey?
Well, I think we've gone through this before, but just for the camera, we didn't.
No.
If we're honest, we didn't do any preparation.
No, I think we just realized, like one day before we went for our trip, that we need a key.
Yeah, we didn't even know we needed keys to get into some of the toilet facilities, etc. We didn't really, living 30, 40 miles away from the marina by road, we didn't really consider that it might
Be
170
miles.
70 miles.
And 70 locks.
And
74 locks.
74 locks, yeah.
And also, we also booked the tickets, did we?
That's right, yeah. We booked tickets to fly to
Yeah.
the Czech thinking, oh, this will just take, 3-4 days.
Yeah.
But somebody did tell us,
Yeah.
in fact, it was the lady that ran the marina at Bedford said, oh, yeah, you'll be down in 3 days. I
Yeah.
think she meant by road.
Right.
Not
So
actually.
basically, our first day when we have done like 15 hours, we knew, and we still been like, I don't know, where did we get to? We didn't get very far. Did
We didn't get far at all.
Yeah, so we knew like after 15 hours that we're not going to make probably the
Yeah.
holidays on Wednesday, because it was Saturday when we left.
Is that when we lost the key? Or was that the day we lost the key? The first,
I'm not sure.
the end
now.
of the first day or the second day?
Yeah.
So guys, what did that first day feel like then? Because you've got no boating experience, you've jumped on this boat for the first time. I guess you didn't know too much about the locks. Did you watch a couple of vlogs beforehand to get the gist of it?
I wish we could say we had. The most experience we had, I'd been on my dad's boat, but that was a wide beam. It was it didn't really go that far. It couldn't go on a lot of the canals, obviously, and he kept it in the marina most of the time. So, yeah, it was kind of exciting, wasn't it, at first to have that control and everything, but. You soon realised the speed, the actual energy it takes to operate a boat. You don't realise really until you start having that vibration and everything. You suddenly become aware that this is going to be a bit harder than you actually think it is.
Yeah, and you guys went straight into sort of day 2. You were down the Northampton flight, which is kind of lock after lock. Yeah. How did you find that?
So I was doing
all
locks,
did it.
yeah. So I was doing all locks. So
not all. Well, right. Yeah.
Yes, I've opened. Well, obviously with you guys because you finally like helped me out. So, but I got to the first lock, didn't have a clue how to open it at all. I just had the wind. It's not wind.
The windlass. The windlass.
So I just was there and I was like thinking, well, so I've seen obviously people when they tuck it in and they just turn it around. But I really didn't know what to do. But I remember there was Leon. He was on that locks in Northampton, and he actually gave us the first advices. So he told me what I need to do. So I was trying to think about it, and I was thinking, well, this is what I need to do to get through it. But it was really hard, to be honest.
So for those of you who've ever been down the Northampton flight, Leon is this kind of cool guy that lives in a tent for most of the time, and he'll help you down the locks for a small consideration, I think. But sounds like he was a bit of a lifesaver for you guys.
He certainly was that day because it was absolutely roasting as well, wasn't it? It was a really hot day.
And I made him sandwich, and we gave him 20 pounds.
That was very nice. That was very nice. So you
You're not meant to say that.
Why?
Why? I don't know.
So you spent your first night just beyond Wastewater, didn't you? Where did you find to spend your first night?
I'll leave that one to you.
Did we spend? So was the first night we lost the key?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah.
I think that was the first time we lost the key.
Yeah. So we lost the key and decided to turn round, and we
No, so what happened was, that was when I nearly drowned you. Do you remember in that look? So we got, it was our first guillotine. We got into our first guillotine.
No, that was further along, wasn't it?
No, it was first night, because we were so exhausted. It was like 15 hours.
It was a 15-hour day,
yeah,
definitely.
It was, yeah. So we got to that lock, and I remember I was going to open the guillotine. I've pressed the button, and Andy wasn't tied down or anything to the shore, and he's screaming, you know. And I was like, don't know what's going on. And then I realized that he's been sucked under.
Cat had basically left the gate open at the back, and there was a couple of helpful locals there. They had a couple of cans of Red Stripe in the hand. I think it was a caravan park that was next door to it. And the guy looked at me and he said, "Do you need some help?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of, yeah. Could you take this rope?" Probably not as relaxed as that. Eventually we worked out what we'd done wrong and we managed to get away. But with all the excitement and everything, we set off. We thought we were doing really well. And then we realised we'd left the key.
In the guillotine.
In the guillotine.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys saw us for the first time.
That's right, we did, didn't we?
Because we did a turnaround, didn't we?
Yeah, you went back in, yeah.
So we went back up and we actually tied ourselves.
Yeah, so basically we spent two nights next to the locks. And then we realized, I tried to tell Andy that we are not allowed to stay there because everywhere are like a huge signs.
Definitely.
And it tells you can't stay there.
But we couldn't find the key again. It had gone.
Yeah,
Somebody had took the key. So we had to stay there till the following morning, and then luckily there was a guy, wasn't there, in the local sort of marina bit, and he had a spare key and he sold it to us, and then we managed to turn around and continue on our journey.
Excellent, an epic journey it was. If it's any consolation, viewers of the vlog will remember that we actually left the gate open too, so I think it can happen to the best of us.
That's good. Even the professionals.
That's it. So, on this huge, great journey, what was the sort of highlight for you of travelling down the Nene and across the fens?
Well, obviously meeting up with you guys. You know, it was great because you kind of gave us the advice that we should have took before we set off.
Yeah. And it was really nice because we got like somebody that we could travel with, and we could tie it to you. Is it tied to you?
Tied to the side.
Tied to the side of you. We could. we felt kind of safe with you. We could sleep at night.
We weren't going to float off down the river.
Yeah. So kind of, it was really nice. It was always like two of us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we sort of went sort of together.
Yeah.
And
so that was and then the barbecue, we had everything.
Yeah, we stopped. Had a good.
Yeah, that was.
I would like to say the highlight for me was 74 logs,
right.
But
it wasn't.
Definitely wasn't.
So that leads me on to the next question then. What about the journey did you not like, and would you avoid again?
Probably the rain.
Yeah.
The rain part was quite hard, wasn't it? Because we'd set ourselves a time limit and we were due back at work within 7 days, and then we realised it was going to take longer. Obviously, we had to push on every day, whether it was sunny, whether it was raining. We couldn't stop, and I think that took a little bit of the enjoyment out of it, didn't it?
That it would be nicer if we could do just like 8 hours a day.
Yeah, stop.
Or even less.
Yeah.
And like more enjoy it.
Okay, so you get the boat to Bedford, and then what sort of happened to you since?
Well, we got to Bedford, and the location of our jobs was changed within a couple of months. So really, I was up to Birmingham, and Kat was up to Northampton, and we ended up moving the boat back again. We used a service to do it for us, a guy called PJ, who's I do know he's well known in the community and he's very good at what he does. A little bit by river, a little bit by canal, and a little bit by road transport as well, because the weather got really bad, and it was at a time when we had quite a lot of flooding.
So the Nene was open like only 4 days in a whole month?
The Nene only opened for 4 days that particular month that we moved it back. So yeah, it was. We ended up 4 miles away from where we started.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place to be. So, and you've been living on it ever since. So, how have you found your first winter as liveaboards?
Yeah, challenging to start with. I think you have to make yourself active. So we, when we come back from work, we go straight to the gym, and we spend a couple of hours there. Because I think if you came back and you enclosed yourself in the dark, because you leave in the dark, you come home in the dark, and I think if you do that, it probably get to you and affect you a little bit in your mental health more than anything. So yeah, getting out and about, the gym, walking, just doing what we like to do, which is basically get out there and in nature and have a little bit of adventure every spare moment of time we've got, really, haven't we?
I think Andy is a little bit affected more than me, because I found the winter on a boat, like, it's not a problem for me. So for me, if it's 40 foot or 57 foot, I think I feel okay. I know I would obviously feel a lot better if I live in your Narrowboat. But
So it's open plan, isn't it?
It's open plan. It's really like spacious. It's So for me, I really don't feel like that it's an issue. I think I could just live there. I don't feel really claustrophobic. I don't feel like
I feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I just think it's the fresh air and space you need. You need to find that happy balance, basically, between confining yourself in a small space and getting out there and finding something to.
I think for you, it's also the wood. I think he doesn't like our dark wood in a boat, because that was the. You always wanted to change this. You always wanted to change this since the day one, but because we are not really DIY.
So in our next boat, it's just going to be white.
White.
Pine coloured, yeah.
So any plans for another boat in the future?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we've talked about it already, because we're going on a bit of a trip. As you guys know, we're going around the world for 9 months, and then when we come back, it'll definitely be a bigger boat, a lighter boat inside, an open space.
Excellent. And listen, thank you for coming down and talking to us today. It's been really good to meet up with you again, and look forward to hearing all of your adventures in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for inviting us.
Thank you. So I said at the start of this vlog that there would be some jeopardy in this. So Susie, what's happened to you?
Well, I've taken a little slide on a tiny little slope of grassy bank, and I've broken my wrist, and unfortunately I've had to have a plate and 8 screws popped in, which I have to admit was just a little bit painful, but yeah, not my finest hour. After all the adventurous things we do, I just go and slip over on a tiny bit of wet grass. But I'm okay. I should be back to winching some locks and but hopefully maybe steering a little bit more and leaving the hard work to Carl.
Reflecting on the very first year owning our own narrowboat, and thinking about previous trips we've done on the narrowboats we've hired, I think it's fair to say we've both really enjoyed it. So far we've racked up over 800 miles on various waterways and seen some fabulous scenery and some amazing wildlife. While it's true that we have encountered the odd challenge and, I think fair to say made the occasional mistake, all in all it was a great choice for us to buy a narrowboat and start doing narrowboat holidays. We've also met some amazing people that have been very, very helpful and have made our first year really special. Going into 2020, however, like everybody else, our cruising plans have been seriously curtailed by the pandemic. We hope very soon to be back on the cut and making new vlogs. We'll be catching up with old friends and travelling to some new places, and we hope you'll join us. Next time on the vlog, I'm going to fix that pesky inverter. If you've enjoyed this channel, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.